This gun's chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, by the way. You know, one of my favorite cartridges, but apparently not an elk round, according to so many. And yet, here I am. I've taken yet another elk with the 6.5 Creedmoor. I don't know what people are thinking. So this is a new rifle that I'm pretty excited about. This is from Nemo Arms. And Nemo, if you're familiar with them, they're really best known for their large caliber semi-auto AR type rifles and 300 Win Mag and other big boomers. Well, they kind of are going in a new direction now with this bolt gun. This is the Electus by them. And this is a high performance, lightweight mountain hunting marvel. It's really a lovely rifle. When I think about all the qualities that I look for in hunting rifles in general and mountain rifles in particular, this system here checks a ton of the boxes. This is a carbon fiber stock from Manners. This is in their Pro Hunter series line, and this is the much anticipated and brand new released folding version. So on the opposite side here, you can see there's a recessed button with a kind of generous texturing on it. You push that and it folds the stock like that. You can see this stock stays in place. They've actually embedded a couple of rare earth magnets underneath the carbon fiber that allow that to kind of stick and retain the stock in that position. But to deploy it, it's that simple. In terms of packability, it really works extremely well. I've been hauling it through the mountains here. I'm in Idaho in the Pioneer Mountains, and I've been chasing mule deer and elk for the past few days. And I'll tell you what, having a rifle that is both extremely capable, accurate, sort of has long range capability, but is easy to pack is just a godsend. Now, the grip here, I just love. This is kind of pulled really right from the competition world. You can see how vertically oriented it is, and it's sort of narrow back up here for your hand to fit, and it even has these concave little depressions in there for your thumb. And so when your hand wraps into this, you've got these spots for your thumb to help drive the rifle, manage recoil. You've got this nice flat surface to get good contact between the recoil pad and the shoulder. And, you know, this thing just lines up beautifully. So that vertical orientation on the grip, it's got also this really nice texturing, very well done on it. Gives you a lot of positive control with your trigger hand and positions the trigger finger just beautifully in relation to the trigger. This happens to be a Trigger Tech trigger on there, one of my favorite types of triggers to use. I've got just a pile of them on my hunting and competition guns. They are crisp, reliable, adjustable, and have really become a favorite among, you know, the competitive shooters and sort of guys looking for that extra level of performance out of their trigger. Back here, we've got this comb piece that adjusts for height, so you can really fine-tune the dimensions of this to get a really good sight picture through your optic. One of the things that's really cool about this is that, you know, typically the adjustable comb on a rifle system weighs quite a bit. You usually have metal pillars in there and other fixtures. Tom Manners somehow managed to do this, create this thing as stiff and positive and locks up tight, but hardly weighs anything at all. So in terms of keeping the weight of this stock down, you know, you get the adjustability of the comb, but you don't add any kind of, you know, meaningful bulk or anything to it. It's really, really well done. The forend on this is also really cool. It has these little fingered contour grooves up here so you can get a nice positive grip. This is kind of flat under here for writing on surfaces like bags and things like that. This recessed pick rail, which I like because it's not very obtrusive or snaggy, but allows you to mount a bipod. In this case is this like very lightweight bipod. It's a new hunting bipod from MDT and is just the perfect match for this. It's made out of carbon fiber as well. Folds down, you know, you can get a lot of length out of that. Comes up, and you can also easily adjust the width, so you can get this thing into a lot of different positions. Down low, you can go up high. You know, this thing really adapts to a lot of different types of terrain, and it just fits really well on that recessed pick rail. One thing that's also neat about this is, I don't know if you can see this in here, but this flat section is actually a section of Arca rail. So that is something that you can kind of clip into with a tripod. And you know, the way I kind of roll is with this I've got this lightweight guy here. This is the a no-name tripod from Two Vets. I'm not even sure that they still make this anymore, but it's been a favorite of mine for kind of lightweight hunting. You can see it's got this minimalistic arc head on it. Doesn't weigh much, but it's kind of nice and stable. You can clip that thing in, get very steady. Even though this has a pretty narrow base here, this rifle is balanced on it really well. I can extend this thing up, so if you're, in the sagebrush or other kinds of vegetation, which, 9 times, maybe 99 times out of 100, you are, this lets you get above the vegetation and still have enough stability in the platform to make a good steady shot, particularly if you have to take a poke at something a little longer distance away. Good job. Thanks. This is a titanium action. It's made for Nemo by Zermatt. I think it's their TI3 TI3 action. And if you're not familiar with Zermatt, they make really, really fine actions for competition and hunting. The titanium ones knock off a little weight. Traditionally, titanium actions compared to just a regular steel action are a little, stiffer to run. But this thing is actually extremely smooth. This is a 2-lug action. It doesn't have a really long bolt handle on it. You don't want, on a hunting gun like this, you don't want a big handle sticking off that thing. So this has kind of this minimalistic handle. It's got this sort of spiral fluting on it that gives you some good positive texture. So it's a good balance. But, even so, that thing is really very smooth. It's kind of a 700 pattern action with a 2-position safety. And if you notice, I pulled this magazine out of it. This might be one of my favorite things on this gun, actually, is the bottom metal. A lot of bottom metal has the a tab on the inside of the trigger guard. Not a big fan of that. I just don't like it. This bottom metal has the levers. They're integrated into the trigger guard, but they're on the outside. So when I go to deploy it, I just have to have my finger on the outside like that. The retaining system is super strong, super positive. This thing is not coming out with an accidental bump, but it is easy to activate and get that mag out when you need to, and you don't have to have your finger wiggling around in the trigger guard to do it. Especially with like a lighter weight trigger like this Trigger Tech trigger, the last thing I want is to have my finger anywhere kind of within that trigger guard where it might inadvertently come in contact with the trigger. So from a safety and performance standpoint, this bottom metal really does a good job. In front of the action here, I've got a carbon fiber barrel. This one is from Proof. Big fan of Proof's barrels, are super accurate. This gun's chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, by the way. One of my favorite cartridges, but apparently not an elk round, according to so many. And yet, here I am. I've taken yet another elk with the 6.5 Creedmoor. I don't know what people are thinking, but anyway, this Proof barrel in that cartridge in this stock and action has been really accurate for me. I'm comfortable. I've been using it to ring steel at extremely long distances, out past 1,000 yards at my home range, and then out here made a really challenging long shot on an elk, and it did its job perfectly. So that Proof barrel is a really good component here. I think that Nemo is actually planning at some point to make their own barrels, though, and carbon wrap them. I'm kind of excited for that. I'm a big fan of suppressors, and this has a can from Airlock. This is their zero gravity can. I'm not real familiar with this company, but I've got to say I am really impressed by this can. This thing is, I think, about maybe 5 inches long or something like that. It only weighs like 5-point-something ounces. It's a direct thread can made out of titanium. It is quiet, surprisingly quiet for its size, and it just weighs hardly anything. And one thing I don't like in sort of a hunting rifle with sort of tactical features, for lack of a better term, is things that cause them to be unbalanced and not able to handle well. Typically, you have a big, heavy bipod on something, a big, heavy suppressor. You end up with a gun that's really weight forward and can be sort of awkward to manipulate. This guy, this thing still balances, right there, and it doesn't weigh much. So even though it's got the bipod, even though it's got the suppressor, this is very much a nimble, handy shooting rifle. And that to me is, a really great and unusual combination to be able to achieve in a hunting rifle. You don't want anything that's awkward, but when you want to get that super stable position and rock this thing for more challenging shots, it just kind of hits the high points there. Now, of course, we have to see what we're aiming at. I've got this topped with a Night Force scope. This is one of their NX8s. It's a 4-32 by 50 first focal plane scope. It's a fairly tactical hunting scope, and Night Force stuff, they have their reputation for legendary reliability and toughness and stuff, and this thing certainly achieves all of that, but it does it in a package that isn't overly heavy. This has the XT reticle in it. I think probably my favorite all-around general purpose reticle for precision shooting. It's a Christmas tree design that's incredibly ergonomic, where the marks in the reticle match up perfectly with the 0.1 mil increments on the elevation and windage. And when you really get down to using a gun and a reticle in a challenging situation where there's a time pressure and a distance pressure and the ability to spot shots and make a follow-up if you need to, that XT reticle is just, the great stuff. So anyway, that's kind of the full package. This is the Nemo Electus, this high performance, lightweight, carbon fiber based gun, mountain gun. You're familiar with a lot of the other classic names in the ultralight mountain gun category. There's now a new kid on the block, and they have come out strong. I mean, there's no element of this gun or anything that I would consider a weak point or somehow lacking. So if you're a high-tech, shooter, this is going to kind of appeal to you. Now, if you find this commentary useful, interesting, please like and subscribe to our channel. That helps us a lot. And I will also be looking at the comments below. You got a question, complain about it, whatever. You've got another rifle that you think is awesome for this kind of work, throw it down there. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you have any questions about this, I'll get back to you. But anyway, once again, the Nemo Electus, really cool, high-tech, high-performance, fun bolt-action rifle.